Hey guys, in today's video we are going to discuss a repertoire for white for players who enjoy playing the Caro-Kann. So recently ChessGoals came out with a Caro-Kann repertoire, and I've been working a bit on a repertoire for white, so please let me know in the comments below what you think of this and if this is something where you'd actually be interested in me making a full-fledged repertoire on. So if you think of the Caro-Kann, e4, c6, d4, d5. From the black side, we're trying to control these light squares, bring out this bishop, knight f6, and eventually the pawn to e6. In the last video I just created, we looked at playing the Slav for black, which puts the pawns on c6 and d5 also. And we looked at, after 1 c4, playing c6 and sort of transposing into either a Slav or potentially a Caro-Kann line if white plays e4. So that got me thinking this morning, what could we play for white that would be similar to the Caro-Kann, but also pose some kind of tricks for the opponent to think about? And the move I thought of, and this isn't really anything groundbreaking. I mean, it's something that I've seen before, but it's really rare, and your opponents probably haven't seen it too often if they have seen it. Move 1, c3. And I know what you're thinking. c3 looks like just a garbage opening. Why would you play c3? Why not control the center? I have the Lee Chess stats here for club level players. Look at the most popular move for black. 1 e5. Now what do you notice about this position after 1 c3 and e5 for black? This is a Caro-Kann in reverse, but it's our move in this position instead of black being able to play d5. So now we can hit this pawn with d4, targeting e5. Now look at the most popular move for black. E takes d4. White is winning 50%, black is only winning 44%. Now the natural move here is to play d5. Look what structure we have. This is a Caro-Kann exchange variation, but we're up a move. And this pawn structure is called the Carlsbad structure, when white has 2 over here, 2 pawns for black's 3, both d pawns up, and then 4 pawns on one side for 3. This is the Carlsbad structure. White is scoring better than black in these lines, and it has all the similar ideas to the Caro-Kann exchange variation. Okay, so let's say black does not take on d4. What's the second most popular move? e4. Now in this position, what does this start to look like? Caro-Kann advanced variation, except this pawn should be up on d5. How do we take advantage of that d pawn not being on d5? We play c4. And if you look at the stats here, it's not very common. So usually in this position, you're going to see a move like bishop to f4, maybe e3, just white playing solid. But we have a plan here. We're taking this into Caro-Kann territory. After c4, this pawn cannot easily come up to d5 because we can take it, and when the queen takes back, we play knight c3 and start developing with tempi on the queen. So already in this position, black, or I should say white, is winning over 50% in all of these lines. Black is only winning around 41, 42%, except this very top line, which is f5. Strange looking move. So this takes us into Caro-Kann advanced territory, but we're up a move. Alright, so what else could black do here? Knight c6. This is just like the Tartakower line that we've looked at. Now we can play d takes e, knight takes e, knight f3. If knight takes, e takes. We have the Tartakower position, except this pawn, instead of being on d5, is back on d7. The pawn probably belongs on d5, so we can get the Tartakower up a move for white. Now in this line, white's not scoring quite as well, but it's also only 83 games. Not that big of a deal. We can play the Tartakower repertoire from the white side up a move. Okay, so what else could black try? Fourth most common move, d6. This is the same as the King's Indian attack that we've looked at. So everything we've looked at so far is a Caro-Kann variation that you can play up a move. Now let's go back to c3 and talk a little bit about just the thought process of choosing a repertoire. So in chess, we know that white moves first, and white has a very small advantage. I'm talking very, very small. And the stronger that computers get, I think the smaller the advantage is for white. So if you look at Stockfish, the most recent versions, the advantage for white is only like 1/10, maybe 2/10 of a pawn. Not very much at all. So when we think about what type of opening repertoire we want from the white side, there's probably 3 different camps that I can think of. The first camp, and this is where a lot of the grandmasters fall, is let's play the strongest theoretical moves. Let's play the moves that give the highest Stockfish eval. Let's play very correct chess and try to push for the largest advantage possible right from the start by playing correct chess. And maybe we could have a couple novelties ready, moves that haven't been seen before, to throw off the opponent. That takes a lot of memorization. And I was thinking about this in terms of a chart. So think of like a X and Y axis. On one axis, you have the objective strength of the opening, right? The top is like Stockfish completely approves. The bottom might be playing a move like H4 on move 1 or G4, right? A very suspect move. On the other axis, on the X-axis, we have how easy is the game to play? And that axis could even be thought of as how easy is it for you to play compared to your opponent. So the difference. So what we want to do is usually sacrifice a little bit on the objective strength of the opening to get positions that are easy for us to play and difficult for our opponents to play. Because none of us are Stockfish, none of us are grandmasters, we all make mistakes. Every single move, essentially, if it's not the engine move, is losing a little bit of eval. So think of average centipon loss for players. 20 centipons per move. It's a pretty strong game, but that's a lot of centipons. Every 5 moves, someone is giving up the equivalent of 1 pawn on average. So it's important to find positions that are easy to play. Okay, so that's class 1, playing objectively the strongest moves. Class number 2, I would say, is playing very tactical openings, sharp openings. They're not necessarily the strongest, but they're gambits or lines that it's really tough for your opponent to figure them out. Those are not what we usually recommend so far in the ChessGoals repertoire. Maybe down the road we will have a gambit repertoire, but we don't want to spend that much time on openings. We don't want to play just for traps. We want to play solid chess, but still make it tough on our opponent. So class number 3, I think, is where we want to be in, and that's playing solid, not quite playing the strongest Stockfish moves, giving up a little bit, but playing for positions that are really hard for our opponent to play. So not all the way on the extreme of playing gambits, but somewhere in the middle there. That's what we aim for in our Caro-Kann course. We give white a little bit larger advantage than maybe we need to in some lines, but we do it because we're playing for the initiative and we're trying to apply pressure to white's position. That's what we're doing here. C3, this is not the strongest move in chess. This might not even be trying to claim any advantage if you're playing against Stockfish. The eval here is probably 0 at this point after C3. But we are trying to trick our opponents. We're trying to play positions that we know well and that are easy to play. Okay, so now let's say black does not play E5. Let's say they play D5. Here I recommend D4. Here we see again the pawns C3 and D4 looks like a Slav defense or a Caro-Kann in reverse. Okay, so let's say knight F6, knight F3. Now let's follow the most popular moves for black. Actually, I want to go with E6 here, just to show an example. E6. Here we can transpose into a bunch of different solid white openings that aren't necessarily played at the highest of the highest levels, but they're still completely sound openings. You got the London system here, and one that I really want to recommend is something easy to play is E3. After C5, bishop D3, we see we're in the Colle system. The cool thing with the Colle system is it's really easy to play, and it scores pretty well at club level. This is a system that I played in college back when I wasn't spending any time studying openings, and I had pretty good results with it, because it's just so easy to play. So to recap, I want your guys' thoughts. What do you think of 1c3 with the idea of going into a Caro-Kann reverse after e5, or going into a Colle after essentially anything else, playing c3, d4, e3, knight f3, bishop out, castle, and just playing super solid, but knowing even in those lines you're really never worse. It's always at least equal according to Stockfish. It's a good system that you could play, and you'll get comfortable positions. So please let me know in the comments below what you think of this system. Would you like to see a full repertoire based on 1c3? And if you like this video, please click the thumbs up and subscribe for more content. Thanks for watching.